Some people ask me why I lost interest in Pokemon, but I never tell them the real reason. I give them the usual, I grew up answer, but that's not true at all. I feel like the best way to accept what I saw that day is to tell somebody about it, and that's exactly what I'm doing. This is the story of the cartridge that destroyed my devotion to Pokemon. This is the story of Pokemon Rotted Yellow. I was working at one of the video game stores in town for about a year and a half without any sort of incident. The worst thing that would happen was that somebody would try to trade in a scratched game. One day, I had been working alone at the store when a young boy, maybe 10 at most, came in. I noticed that he was holding a cartridge for the Game Boy Color. I was immediately surprised. Not many kids that age even knew what a Game Boy Color was, much less owned one. I asked him if he needed any help, and he told me that he needed somebody to fix his game for him, because it was broken. I asked him if he had brought the game from our location, and he said he didn't know. His father had gotten it for him. Normally, I would have said no, but then I noticed that the cartridge was for a Pokemon Yellow game, and it just didn't feel right to deprive a kid of a Pokemon adventure. I asked him what was wrong with the game, and he told me that it kept freezing in the same spot every time he tried to play, and his Pokemon just kept dying over and over. I thought that the boy just had a weak time, but I went along with it, and told him that I would do my best to fix it, though I couldn't promise anything. The boy gave me his name and his phone number and went on his way. Not thinking too much of it, I put the game into the top drawer behind the cash register. As I was closing the shop up that night, I threw the game into my purse and headed home, finding myself eager to play that game after all these years. Hopefully, it is what I thought, and he had simply had a weak team. I could fix that pretty quickly, and I would be that kid's hero. I got home and found my old Game Boy from when I was a kid. I grabbed some new batteries and clicked them into the back of the console, and then dug through my bag to find the game. I was about to put the game in, when something caught my eye. Instead of the normal looking Pikachu that was supposed to be on the sticker, this one had its eyes scratched off entirely. Probably just a coincidence, I thought to myself, but still, the sight made me uneasy. I turned the game on. The game started off as normal. The Game Freak logo was shown. The opening sequence played as normal. But once the title card appeared, there was only silence, though I didn't think much of it at the time. I selected the save game file, but the file didn't open. Instead, a message popped up saying that the save was corrupted. That was strange, because the boy had told me that his file was okay, that it was just frozen at one part in the game. I tried a few more times, but to no avail. I was getting frustrated, so I decided to start a new file. The new file had worked, and the game played out like it was supposed to without any glitches. I was in Cerulean City when I was teleported to Lavender Town out of nowhere. The action reminded me of the infamous Mew glitch, and then I thought that maybe the kid had tried to glitch and mess up, causing the game to freeze. I walked to the outskirts of Lavender Town, and to my surprise, the glitch was active, and a wild Mew appeared. Instead of the battle music, the Lavender Town music continued to play. Maybe there was something wrong with the cartridge after all. I also noticed that none of my battle options worked. The only choice I had was to run. This pissed me off, because who doesn't want a Mew? But because it was the only option, and I didn't want to start over at the last save, I was forced to do it. After that, the game continued normally. I went to Celadon City and obtained the Sylph Scope. when it came time to do the cemetery mission, the game went haywire again. Instead of having to travel through each individual floor, I was teleported to the final room, where I assumed I was supposed to calm down the soul of Marowak. The wild Marowak appeared, but there was no music. After I sent out my Pokemon, Pikachu, the Marowak transformed into Mew. I battled it and tried to get its HP down, but even though my Pikachu was at a much higher level than the Mew, it barely did any damage. Somehow, the Mew never attacked. I eventually managed to get its HP low enough, and I tried throwing a Pokeball at it. Maybe if I caught it, the game would go back to normal. I threw the Pokeball. Mew turned into one of those unidentifiable ghosts that you saw without the Sylph Scope. Then out of nowhere, the text read, "Ash had whited out." This really confused me. My Pikachu was nowhere close to fainting, and I still had all of my other Pokemon. Instead of restarting at the Pokemon Center, I was back at the same floor of the cemetery. I noticed that my Pikachu wasn't following behind me. I walked over to where the battle would surely begin again, and I was led to a tombstone where the battle had taken place. I hit the A button to see if there was any text on it, and the sound of Pikachu's fainting cry played. My Pikachu had died. Right after the cry had played, that Marowak appeared again. I sent out my Pidgeot, and the Marowak once again transformed into Mew. This time Pidgeot attacked on its own, without my command, and Mew was left with 1 HP. Mew used Destiny Bond, and when my Pidgeot attacked without my command again, Mew evaded the attack. Mew had used Curse, leaving it with 0 HP, and Destiny Bond had taken down Pidgeot along with the Mew. I still should have won, because I had 4 more Pokemon in my party. Instead, I whited out again. I wanted to stop, but I knew I couldn't. It was a sick joke that I desperately needed to know the ending of. Once again, I restarted at the final floor of the cemetery, where I was led to a new tombstone, where my Pidgeot was. The fight started again, and sure enough, the same thing happened to every single member of my party, until I was left with no more Pokemon. I expected to white out again after my last Pokemon had fainted, or in this case, died. But my character was forced to battle Mew himself. This was getting ridiculous. But then again, something was stopping me from turning off the game. Of course, there was no way for me to attack Mew, and I didn't think that Mew would have any powers over me. However, Mew was somehow able to use Curse and Destiny Bond on me. How was a Pokemon able to use that power on a person? I whited out immediately. When I reappeared, I wasn't at the cemetery. I was in my bedroom in Pallet Town. I immediately noticed that my character didn't look normal either. I was transparent. No music was playing either. I walked a few steps when my menu screen popped up and my trainer card appeared. I had no badges, no money, and no Pokemon in my Pokédex. I closed it, and then the menu popped up again, showing me that I had 1 Pokemon in my party. However, there was no sprite design or name next to the HP bar. I checked the mystery Pokemon's moveset, and noted that it only had 1 move: Teleport. I tried leaving my room, but I wasn't able to. I tried to interact with the map, as well as my computer, but none of those worked either. Not sure what else to do, I used my Pokemon's teleport move, unsure of where it would take me. I appeared at the cemetery, where I was led to a 7th tombstone, this one showing my character's name on it. I wanted to be sick. Whoever gave this cartridge to that boy was a twisted person. I couldn't imagine a young boy playing this game. I didn't know where to go or what to do. So I walked to here. The fight with Mew normally would have happened. A battle sequence started, but it wasn't with Mew. It was with a trainer. My side of the battle screen showed the sprite of a Marowak. I froze, realizing what was going to happen. As the trainer sent out his Pokemon, Marowak had transformed into Mew. I looked at my move list, expecting only Teleport to be there. Instead, I had 2 moves, Curse and Destiny Bond. I turned off the console. I didn't know what else to do. I convinced myself to turn it back on a few hours later to see if my save file was still there. But it was with Corrupted. The boy never came back for his game. I figured he just wanted to get rid of it. I can't say I blame him though. And that, my dorks, was Pokemon Rotted Yellow. A Pokepasta, since we haven't done one in a while. My thoughts on the story? It was meh, that's the best way to describe this story. Overall, we've heard this kind of story before. Lavender Town teleporting there out of nowhere, the Lavender Town music playing where it shouldn't, referencing other glitches like Missing No and the Mew glitch. At the very least, I can thank this story for not going into blood and guts territories of cliches, because that would have just made me groan. But the best way to describe this story, in my opinion, was boring. I was almost yawning throughout this story, I'm gonna be honest. Some parts of it were okay, some parts of it not. But it just was not entertaining enough to keep my attention, really. I was able to get through this story in a couple of takes, due to messing up with my narration, I'm not perfect. But this story could have used some more action, like maybe trying to figure out who or what caused the glitch in the first place, maybe having the main character explore more of Kanto, see if there's more glitches about. Maybe, I don't know, the character can get Missing No and name a Mew can have a fight or something, I don't know, I'm just trying to pull ideas out my ass at this point. Anything than boring your audience. Like I said in the last couple stories, you never want to bore your audience as a writer. You want to keep them entertained, and you want to keep their attention. So then, if I was to rate this story out of 10, I'm giving it a 5. Middle of the road. It's not good, it's not bad either. It's just meh. Best way to describe it. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this narration and review, and you'd like to see some more, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you can stay up to date with my latest videos, and comment down below any other Pokepastas I should do. Let me know. Alright everybody, I am now signing off.